What's up, y'all? Brandon with BC Talks here, and I recently visited a local antique mall that I hadn't been to before, and they had a really awesome booth full of Funko Pops, manga, and of course, comic books. And I really liked the way this booth was set up. It was very organized, a lot of long boxes with dividers and whatnot, a lot more organized than some antique malls I've been to before. And I picked up a few minor keys, but I got there about a couple hours before they closed, so I wasn't really able to dig through the boxes the way I'd normally like to. But I'm definitely heading back there later this week to pick those bones to see what kind of surprises might be there in those boxes. So most of what I picked up were some Captain Marvel keys from the 2019 Captain Marvel run, and I mainly picked those up for spec. Now, if you're not familiar with comic book collecting or you're new to comic book collecting and don't know what that means, spec is just short for speculation, and that's when you buy comic books with the expectation or hope that they're going to rise in value based on external factors in the future. So that you buy them and you think that the value is going to rise in the future. Now, not all comic books can be spec'd, obviously. Some books just have an inherent value because of the character or maybe the artist or the writer on that run. For instance, Batman, no matter how many times they reboot the Batman comics, no matter how many times they remake Batman movies, no matter how many different actors play Batman, no matter how bad or good the Batman movies are in the future, Detective Comics number 27, which obviously is the first appearance of Batman, is always going to be worth tons of money. I mean, that one's in like the high hundred thousands to millions of dollars, depending on the grade of the book, and that's never going to drop in value, even if like some terrible actor played Batman in the future and the movie was just so bad. The value of Detective Comics 27 is never going to change drastically. So because of the inherent value of the character Batman, because it's a legacy character. So some books or characters can't really be spec'd, but some characters that are newer or that you might think that Marvel or DC or whatever publisher might be pushing them in the future, whether in movies or in comic books, or maybe there's some sort of event that's happening, you might be able to get those for a good price and then keep them, hold on to them, and then they increase in value when that does happen. And there are some books that decrease that you might spec and then decrease in value. For instance, a lot of people were specking the first appearance of Morbius, and then the movie came out, and that did drop in value a little bit because the movie was so bad. So, for instance, Batman, bad movie. The book is not going to go down in value. Morbius, not as big as a character, so people that spec that did lose a little bit of money on that. Um, Not that much, but it was a little bit. Uh, but um, but newer characters or different events that you think might be happening, you can sometimes spec those and maybe gain some money. And like I said, the prices were really good on these books. So even if these Captain Marvel keys don't end up working out, and nothing comes of them, they were like $2.25 a book. So leaving them on the shelf, I think, is criminal, just for the potential. And even if nothing comes of them, it was $2. So um, yeah, not that big of a loss. And especially with the Marvels movie coming out later this year, with Captain Marvel becoming a more prominent character in the MCU, I definitely think it's good to pick up some of the Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Monica Rambeau keys as well, because they're going to be pretty prominent characters moving forward in the MCU. And I'm trying to get more into modern keys. Everybody collects the golden, silver, and bronze age keys and books, but a lot of the times, if you know what modern keys to look for, don't get every modern key because some of them are just not worth anything. But if you know what to look for in these modern keys, sometimes you can find them for really good prices because nobody collects, books from like 2000 to now because not a lot of them have value. Obviously, some of them do, like the first appearance of X-23, books like that. But a lot of modern keys, they get implemented into movies later on, and people aren't really, people don't really realize what they're looking at when they're picking through boxes. So sometimes you can get really good deals on these modern keys. So like I said, these were 225. We're gonna go through these Captain Marvel keys. Now the first one I picked up was Captain Marvel number 18. This is the first appearance of L'Oreal, who is the half sister of Carol Danvers. Now, this is probably the biggest one, and I got a few L'Oreal keys here. L'Oreal, like the hair products. um, but yeah, so there, I think there's a really very real possibility that the MCU could introduce Captain Marvel's half sister in the future. Like I said, the Marvels is coming out. They're going to be more prominent characters moving forward. They're also doing the Secret Invasion storyline with the Kree, and L'Oreal, she's actually a Kree. She's part. I think she full Kree or part Kree. I can't remember, but yeah, she's like blue and she's huge. She doesn't really look like Captain Marvel, because you know she's her half sister. She's more Kree than Captain Marvel is. Um, so with the Kree becoming more prominent in the MCU, and also Captain Marvel becoming more prominent in the MCU, for $2, I think this is a good spec to pick up. Um, if you can find it for cheap. Don't, and that's another thing. Don't overpay for spec. Like the Spider Boy that just came out, a lot of people are paying $50 to $100. I seen people pay $200 for that book. I can't pay that much for a book that literally just came out a few weeks ago. No matter what happens, if they put Spider Boy into the Spider Verse and then make him a big character, and that book shoots up to like $500-600, then I'll eat my words. But I think that's a dumb spec because why? Like he's such a new character. I can't pay that much for a book that was cover price just a few weeks ago. So, but anyway, back to Captain Marvel. That's my thing on spec. I don't like certain spec. Some spec I'm okay with. Like, pay cheap for your spec. Like, look at that. That was $2.25. That's good spec. Especially with the Kree coming into the MCU and Captain Marvel becoming a bigger character. I'm not paying hundreds of dollars for that Spider Boy just for the hope that he's into the Spider Verse, and that book shoots up. That's just dumb spec to me. But anyway, back to Captain Marvel. This one's Captain Marvel 19, which is the first cover appearance of her sister. So you see her there on the bottom. She's the blue one, because she's actually Kree. And so that's the first cover appearance of her sister L'Oreal, and then also it features War Machine, who is Rhodey, Hazmat, and Spider Woman. They join Captain Marvel and become a group called the Accusers. And now we know that War Machine is getting his own show, the Armor Wars, soon, and War Machine's also going to be a more prominent character in the MCU as well. So, but Hazmat and Spider Woman haven't been introduced yet. But again, for $2.25, just the possibility of them forming that team, I think it's a real possibility. Half of the characters are already in the MCU and becoming more prominent. And I would assume that Spider Woman, I don't know about Hazmat necessarily, but I'd assume that Spider Woman, Jessica Drew, will be coming, soon. She's a pretty popular Spider-Man character, so I'd assume that they'll be doing her at some point, or they might make the Accusers with a different team, but it might still be Captain Marvel, um, and War Machine with a couple different other characters. But the next one we got is Captain Marvel 20, so we got a little run going on here. Like I said, I picked up the L'Oreal keys mostly. This one is the first team appearance of the Accuser Corps, so the last book was when they kind of came together, and this is the first team appearance. You can see them on the cover there. That is Captain Marvel, War Machine, Hazmat, and Spider Woman. And again, this one is related to 19. It's kind of a connecting key. And again, 225. I think that's good spec. This next one has another one that has some potential. This one is Captain Marvel 23. Oh, just kidding. Captain Marvel 21. This is another L'Oreal key. This is actually a cool cover with you can see the casket there with the Captain Marvel symbol. This one is when L'Oreal, who is again is the half sister of Captain Marvel, she becomes an accuser, so she joins the team that they had, in that last book. So that's another L'Oreal key there. And then this next one is the one that I was referring to. This is another one that has some potential. This is the first appearance of Ove, the son of Namor. and the first appearance of Bridget, Thor's daughter, who is the daughter of Thor from an alternate universe. And you can see Ove, the son of Namor, there on the cover. I think he's a really cool looking character, and I'm gonna read these books also before I bag and board them because they're really the storyline seems interesting. But this is another one that has some potential to shoot up in value, as you know, it's the first appearance of Namor's son, and as we saw in the recent Black Panther movie, Black Panther 2, Namor was a pretty big character. He was well received, and I think that any Namor keys that you can get for cheap, you probably can't get them as cheap as you could before because before the movie came out. But you never know. You might be able to find some gems, and I think that Namor's son is a character they could definitely introduce. But more so, I think Bridget, Thor's daughter, the daughter of Thor from an alternate reality, is a real possibility because of the multiverse saga that's going on right now. Everybody's variants and alternate versions are appearing right now in Marvel. So the daughter of Thor from an alternate universe is a real possibility. We saw Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, all his variants. We saw Wanda with WandaVision, and then of course Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, the Spider-Man movie. They're digging really deep into the multiverse saga. So, and a lot of people's variants and alternate versions are appearing. The Loki season 2 show's coming up. So I think that it's a very real possibility that we could see Thor's daughter from an alternate reality, um, you know, appear in the MCU. And again, 225 just for that. Even if she doesn't appear and nothing comes of it, $2. um, and the last Captain Marvel key we have here is Captain Marvel number 25. Again, that's a really cool cover. Namor's son is a really cool design of a character. I like his character design. But in this one, Bridget, Thor's daughter, she becomes Thor. So again, this is another possibility considering the multiverse saga. I definitely think that they could at least, she might just have like a brief appearance. Even if she has just a brief appearance and the book goes up to maybe $5, that's double what I paid for. So even if nothing comes of it, they're still cool books to have. The storyline is cool. I'm definitely gonna read through those to read the storyline because I'm not familiar with that storyline. Like I said, a lot of these modern keys, not a lot of people are aware of. So right now is the perfect time to pick up Captain Marvel spec, Miss Marvel spec, and Monica Rambeau spec before the movie comes out later on in the year. Next up, I have some Infinite Crisis keys here. That's another modern event, this time in DC. Now, I've been looking to collect this run for a little bit here recently. The big book in this run is Infinite Crisis number 3, which is the first appearance of Jaime Reyes, who is the fourth Blue Beetle. And if you if you might have seen the trailer, the Blue Beetle movie is coming out later in this year with Jaime Reyes. He's a really interesting character. I really like the way they portrayed him in the Young Justice animated series, and he's a really interesting character. And I think that he's going to become a really popular character moving forward once the movie comes out, and hopefully they kind of port him over from because the Blue Beetle movie is related to the old Warner Brothers. It's not James Gunn didn't produce the Blue Beetle movie or the Aquaman movie that's coming out. James Gunn's first movie in the new DCU is going to be Superman Legacy. And the first show is actually going to be Creature Commandos, but that's going to be a show on HBO Max, or Max as it's called now. But the first movie is going to be Superman Legacy. So any movie you see before Superman Legacy that's DC was not related to James Gunn. So the Blue Beetle movie is not related to James Gunn. So there is a possibility that Jaime might not be in the new DCU, but I think he's going to be a popular enough character that James Gunn will take him over from the old DC Warner Brothers to the new DCU, kind of like how they're doing with Peacemaker and other characters like Amanda Waller and those characters. I'm sure they'll port him over because he's probably going to be a really popular character once that movie comes out. So if you see any Jaime Reyes keys, pick those up. If you see Infinite Crisis 3, pick it up. But they did not have Infinite Crisis 3, unfortunately, in this at this antique mall. I was flipping through the modern keys or the modern books, and then I saw Infinite Crisis, and I was flipping. I saw the run. I was like, oh shoot, do they have number three? That's the big one, and they didn't have it. But I picked up. I actually got Infinite Crisis 7, which is a another one. There's only Infinite Crisis was an event that was 7 issues. It was a 7 issue event. And it's actually a really interesting event. I read a few of these. They're really interesting. But so I picked up the Infinite Crisis keys, or I picked up what they had. Not all of them are keys. I think I'm gonna collect the rest of the run. I got number 7 coming from a Whatnot auction later on the week. But the first one they had was Infinite Crisis number 4, which that's a really cool cover with Superboy and Superman there. That was, and also Crypto. I didn't see that. The Super Dog is on there too. Infinite Crisis number 4 is the first meeting of Booster Gold and Jaime Reyes, which Booster Gold and Jaime Reyes have a really cool, interesting relationship with each other. And well, the main Blue Beetle and Booster Gold did, and then later on, Booster Gold and Jaime Reyes have a relationship as well. But also, Infinite Crisis 4 is when the Spectre is bound to the host body of Crispus Allen, who is a Batman character, if you're not familiar. Batman minor character. He's like a cop in Gotham. And now, like I said, Booster Gold, Jaime Reyes is coming to the movie's coming out, and Booster Gold is very likely coming to the DCU. He is definitely a James Gunn type character. So to have a Booster Gold key is good, especially for this one was a pink tag, so it was like $1.50. It was $1.75 cover price, if that focuses, I don't know. And then so it was like $1.50. So a nice little minor key to have and a run filler there. And the next one, this one is Infinite Crisis 6. Not a key, but again, $1.50 run filler and a cool cover of the alternate. I think it's the alternate version of Superman there. That's not Clark Kent, the main Superman. And then we have this is the bigger one of the Infinite Crisis keys. Infinite Crisis number 7. Now this one is the first appearance of Bart Allen, who is the fourth Flash. And in this, he's the Flash. He was originally introduced as Impulse, way back in like the late Silver Age, I believe. He's Barry Allen, or not Barry Allen. He's Wally West's grandson from the future, from like the 30th century. He's like a time traveler and he gets stuck back in time. So kind of like Bishop, but for Flash. And then also this one is the first cameo appearance of Kate Kane, Batwoman. Now, if you're not familiar with Kate Kane, she's actually a really interesting character. She is, and I really like the Kate Kane's Batwoman. They actually did a CW show that wasn't that great of Kate Kane. The first season starred Ruby Rose, and then the second season, or then she was recast for an actress named Wallace Day, and then later on, the Kate Kane, the character, went missing. There was like an accident, and spoilers. I mean, nobody watched that show, and it wasn't that great. So, but she went missing. There was like an accident, and then Javicia Leslie, the actress, became a Batwoman. She found the suit and became Batwoman. So it wasn't even Kate Kane anymore in the Batwoman show. So yeah, it was like a weird mess of a show, but the character is interesting. I think a better portrayal of her, if you haven't seen the animated show Catwoman Hunted, or the animated movie Catwoman Hunted, it's kind of like an anime style DC movie. It's really interesting the way the art is. I really like that movie, and it's on HBO Max or Max if you have that, like all the rest of the DC animated shows and movies. Catwoman Hunted, Batwoman, I like her portrayal in that, and so that's Kate Kane. And there's also an interesting note with this. So the 52 number 7, which I'll put up on the screen, 52 number 7 is actually listed as the first full, like, actual appearance, first appearance of Kate Kane. But this Infinite Crisis 7 came out before that book, 52-7. I think it came out like a few months before. And so this is listed as the first cameo, but the first actual appearance is listed as 52 number 7, and then the first full, like, appearance in full costume is listed as 52 number 11, which came out after, way after 52-11, this and 52-7. But I'll put it on the screen. I took a picture because I was reading through the book. And I was like, what's going on here? So I read through the book. It's actually a really interesting story. And on the very last page of the book, well, the second to last page, there's a splash page with a bunch of characters from the DC universe, and they show Kate Kane's Batwoman in full costume on that splash page. So she doesn't say anything. I guess it is technically a cameo, but it's the full character in her full costume. So I don't know why 52 number 11 is listed as the full appearance, like the appearance in full costume, and then 52 7 is listed as the first appearance. This I would consider this the first appearance because it's her. I mean, obviously they don't say Kate Kane, but it's Batwoman in her full costume. So I don't know. I'll leave that up to interpretation whether you think this or 52 number 7, which came out a few months later, is her actual first appearance. But I think this is her first appearance. But maybe I'll find 52 number 7 just to have that too. For people that are that debate that. So those are the Infinite Crisis keys. Interesting book there. And then this one is very interesting. This one is Earth 2, number 24. This is the where a book where Val Zod appears in costume on the final page. So he appears in his full costume. And now Val Zod keys. I've been looking to collect Val Zod keys for a while because they announced, or they had announced before James Gunn took over the DCU, that Michael B. Jordan was connected to a Black Superman movie. If you don't know Val Zod, he is so this is called Earth 2, number 24 obviously. Earth 2 is a different an alternate universe Earth. You know there were 52 universes in the DC before the reboots. But so there were 52 universes. This one is Earth 2, and on Earth 2 there's a Black Superman named Val Zod. And so Michael B. Jordan was connected to making a HBO show about that before James Gunn took over. So now people don't know if they're actually going to do that. I think eventually we will get a Black Superman, and it's probably going to be Val Zod. I really hope they don't just make Clark Kent black. They were talking about that as well. I think that's not smart because Clark Kent being a farm boy from Kansas is kind of integral to his character. My thing with changing the race of characters is as long as the character's race is not integral to telling the story of their character, then you can. Then I don't care if you change the race. So like for the Little Mermaid that's coming out here soon, her being white or whatever color is not an integral part of telling her story. She's a mermaid and she can sing and she looks for more. She wants to be on the land with the humans. Those are the integral parts of telling Little Mermaid's story. So no matter what race she is, it doesn't really matter. But for Superman, I think it matters that he's, or at least Clark Kent Superman, it matters that he's like this white, goody two shoes farm boy from Kansas. I think that that is an integral part of his character. So I hope that they don't, if they do make a black Superman, that it's Val Zod from Earth 2, and they don't just make Clark Kent black. So, but anyway, Val Zod is a really interesting character too, in and of himself. So I think it would be a waste to make Clark Kent black. Why not use the black? There's already a black Superman, Val Zod, so use him. But yeah, so I scored the first appearance of Val Zod in a Whatnot auction online for $2 the other day. So that's coming in, and then I got this at the antique mall for $3. So this is his first costume appearance or his suit. And again, like I said, there is a very real possibility they're going to be making a Val Zod show or movie. So it's a good time to pick up Val Zod keys if you can find those. And then next, I picked up some Sensational She-Hulk. These are mostly for memes. I have like a meme collection, and also this one, Sensational She-Hulk number 8. This one, this one's interesting because it is where it's listed on Key Collector as She-Hulk seemingly kicks off the famous internet meme often used to depict one's attention being drawn from a girlfriend passing from a female. So basically, if you know the distracted boyfriend meme, that that meme is in this book. But this book came out in 1989, and that meme, was like the mid 2000s. So it's really interesting, and it actually really does look like the meme. It's really funny. This book came out almost 40 years, actually probably yeah more than 40 years before the meme, but and way before the internet existed. But the meme is in this book, and She-Hulk was kind of a meme character. She was like Deadpool before Deadpool. She would always talk to the artists and the writers of the books, and she would kind of pop out of the panels, break the fourth wall all the time. So it's not surprising that there's meme stuff. a lot of She-Hulk, sensational She-Hulk is meme, but it's interesting to see a modern meme in an old comic book because it didn't exist back then. Obviously, it's just a coincidence, but it is a very interesting coincidence. And I probably put the picture up on the screen, but yeah, it does really look like the meme. And I picked up another sensational She-Hulk. This one's not a key, but it's like a marriage cover. It's a funny cover. She's marrying Mole Man there, and I have like a collection of marriage and love and kiss covers. So this one will go into that collection. Then I also got here the Eternals #9. This one's got a lot of first appearances, but they're not that big other than one. This is the first full appearance of Isan the Searcher, who's a Celestial. The first full appearance of Nezar the Calculator, another Celestial. A lot of Celestials. The first appearance of Hargon the Measurer, and the first appearance of Oneg the Prober. That's an interesting name. And then the big one is the first appearance of Sprite, who, if you know, Sprite was recently in the Eternals movie that came out a couple of years ago, and she was the one that was stuck in the form of a little girl, so or like a child. This is the first appearance of Sprite. Now this is was one that if you bought it before, expecting Sprite to be in the movie, and the movie came out and it wasn't that good, this was probably a spec that you lost money on. But this is after the movie and it's 10% off. It was like $2, so it's an interesting key to have. And then the last one I have here is like an old this is like late, it's 20 cent DC here, not a key, but it's just an interesting book. And 20 cent DC is always interesting, or 20 cent any book is always interesting to pick up. This is like very, very early Bronze Age, late Silver Age, depending on how you um mark the years. I think Bronze Age started in 1970, and this came out in 72. But it's 20 cent DC nonetheless. It's Heartthrobs #144. This was the second to last issue, or the third to last issue, I guess. The last issue of this was 146, and this is like a pulp series of like love stories that came out, started in 1949 and ran all the way to 1972. So a very long running DC series, and I really like it. Presents really nicely. I like the could probably use a clean and a press, but I like the orange against the blue there, and then the orange and blue on her dress. Maybe she might be a Gators fan. Florida Gators, they're orange and blue. But I'm a Georgia fan, so I probably wouldn't get along with her. But yeah, it's just a cool book to have. 20 cent DC is always cool to have, and very late Silver Age to early Bronze Age, interesting, and that'll go in the collection with the Kiss covers there, and yeah, just an interesting book to have, and for what was it, like $1.80 or whatever, an interesting book to have. And that's all the books that I picked up from this antique mall trip. Like I said, I didn't really get to pick through the boxes meticulously like I like to, but I'm definitely gonna head back there later this week to see what else they have. Um, I really liked the presentation of the little booth and how everything was very well organized and whatnot. But let me know down in the comments below if you're specking any cheap books, or what you found lately at your local shops and antique malls. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more comic book related content, and I will see y'all another day.